is Jarrod Horak for the RunawayHorse.com, and welcome to my early video preview of the 2021 Belmont Stakes. Right now it is Sunday, May 23rd, 2021. The Belmont Stakes will be run on Saturday, June 5th, 2021 at Belmont Park. Now before I look at the 13 possible starters, if you're interested in my Belmont Stakes full card, that will be available Belmont Stakes week at the RunawayHorse.com. My Kentucky Derby full card from Churchill Downs, I had over $2,400 in winning tickets. My Preakness full card from Pimlico, I had over $4,700 in winning tickets, including some nice winning scores in the Preakness itself. A $2 exacta that paid more than $98, a $1 trifecta that paid more than $166, and a $1 superfecta that paid more than $1,000. So did well with that Preakness Day full card and the Preakness itself. Let's see if I can carry that momentum over into the Belmont Stakes. Let's jump in and look at the 13 probables right now. Bourbonic is the first one. I'm going to do these horses in alphabetical order. Bourbonic's the first one I'll look at. He was your upset Wood Memorial winner. Did not run well in the Kentucky Derby from an outside post. He doesn't have any speed. Typically in a race like the Belmont Stakes, you want to at least have some kind of tactical speed. Bourbonic likes to sit back and make a late run. He has stamina, he just doesn't have any speed, and he's probably going to be too far back early. Brooklyn Strong is one that won the Remsen Stakes as a 2-year-old, and then he missed all the early preps, and he was able to get back and run in the Wood Memorial and then the Kentucky Derby, but he wasn't a threat in either of those races, and he's going to have to rediscover his good form from his juvenile campaign. Essential Quality, your 2-year-old champion. Now, he was 4th in the Kentucky Derby, and he may have been best that day. Now, in that Kentucky Derby, he raced wider than any of the other top 4 finishers. So he was 4th, a little more than a length behind the others, and he just covered more ground than those other 3. So if he would have had maybe a bit of a better trip, it's possible that he could have won the Kentucky Derby. The biggest question for Essential Quality, I like his tactical speed. He obviously has the class to win a race like the Belmont Stakes. It's just a question of how far does he want to go. In the Kentucky Derby, even though he lost the ground, he still had every chance. And if he was best and just better than those horses, he probably would have won anyway, but he didn't. And now that extra ground, that 1.5 mile distance at the Belmont Stakes is a bit of a concern. France Go Daina is the next one, and he was no threat in the Preakness Stakes. He was part of at least pressing the pace early, and then he was no threat in the stretch, finishing 7th in the Preakness. But the Belmont Stakes was always the main goal for this one. And I would not be surprised if he ran better in the Belmont, but he's certainly going to have to run much better than he did in the Preakness. Get Her Number for trainer Peter Miller. This one finished 4th in the Arkansas Derby last time out, and the Arkansas Derby has not been a productive race. We saw horses from the Arkansas Derby compete in the Kentucky Derby and the Preakness Stakes, and they really did not run well. So Get Her Number does not come out of the best race, but he probably will be a pace factor in that Belmont Stakes. Hot Rod Charlie was my Kentucky Derby top choice, and he finished 3rd that day. And Flavien Prat rode, and then Flavien Prat also rode Rombauer in the Preakness Stakes, and he's going to ride Hot Rod Charlie in the Belmont Stakes. So Rombauer will be ridden by John Velasquez. So Hot Rod Charlie, I like his versatility. He's very consistent. Since they stretched him out, put him on dirt, and put blinkers on, he's run well every time. He can run well from closing, he can stalk, he can set the pace like he did in the Louisiana Derby. He ran a quality race in the Kentucky Derby. He was right there throughout, saving ground. He was right in the thick of it at the top of the stretch. It looked like he might win it, but he just couldn't quite muster enough, and he ended up finishing 3rd. So his tenacity, just to hang in there and kind of just try hard all the time with that positional speed, he's certainly a solid contender to win the Belmont Stakes. Keepmeinmind came up and rallied for 4th in the Preakness Stakes, and I was happy about that because I keyed him in 4th in my superfecta, and I was able to get my superfecta ticket cash there. I don't really think he's a serious win threat in the Belmont Stakes. I wouldn't be shocked if he passed tired horses like Bourbonic and maybe got a very minor award, but I don't think he's just going to be able to win it. He has the stamina, he just does not have the speed to keep up. Now, Known Agenda for trainer Todd Pletcher. He's one that I always thought that he could have success in a race like the Belmont. Actually, prior to the Kentucky Derby, I thought he was a contender in the Derby, but I thought the most likely scenario was that he would finish somewhere mid-pack in the Derby, especially after drawing post 1, and then possibly moving forward in the Belmont Stakes. Todd Pletcher has used that angle successfully in the past. His runners seem much more dangerous in the Belmont Stakes than they are in the Kentucky Derby, and I think that this one's live. He's got a decent pedigree. He's got that grinding running style, and I think that slower pace of a race like the Belmont Stakes, he'll be able to stay closer early and just grind away and use his stamina, and he's one that certainly is going to be a solid contender in the Belmont Stakes. Overtook for trainer Todd Pletcher, and then Promise Keeper. They finished first and third, Promise Keeper winning, Overtook finishing third in the Peter Pan Stakes. In the Peter Pan Stakes, over the years, we've seen horses parlay good efforts in the Peter Pan Stakes into the Belmont Stakes. I don't know if that's going to happen this time around, but both of those horses, they're at least worth considering for Todd Pletcher, but I do think Known Agenda is his best threat in the Belmont. Rebels Romance is going to come in off of a victory in the UAE Derby. This one, good pedigree. It was very impressive in the UAE Derby, and I think if they were going to try a Triple Crown race, I think the Belmont Stakes is the right one. The Kentucky Derby, we've seen UAE Derby horses over the years just struggle in the Kentucky Derby, but now he's had plenty of time. He's not coming here until the Belmont Stakes, and he's got stamina, he's got a class, obviously, and he would be one that could upset the field, would not be shocked. Rock Your World is the next one. Now, Rock Your World is one that I thought he was kind of in trouble in the Kentucky Derby just because he just didn't have the experience. He has a lot of raw talent. I respect him. I played him in races in Southern California. He was 3 for 3 there, and he won the Santa Anita Derby when he was able to get out there and control the pace. But really, realistically, looking at the Kentucky Derby, I did use him in some tickets because I thought his one chance is if he could get out there and control the pace in the Kentucky Derby, but he was not able to do that. That was the whole thing. With him, kind of everything went his own way in his Southern California races, and then he was shipping for the first time at Churchill Downs, and you just kind of knew if anything went wrong, he could be in trouble because those horses just had more seasoning. They were used to being bumped around, and they had stretch fights, and he didn't really have anything like that. A lot of raw ability, but he didn't have to really overcome anything. And then in the Kentucky Derby, obviously he had that early trouble. He was not able to get involved, and he did not like that at all. So now they've regrouped. They took him back to Southern California, and this is the race they're pointing to. And again, like, he's the kind of horse that if he can get out there in a race like the Belmont Stakes where the pace is slower, and if he can be controlling that pace, we know he has a decent amount of stamina. He was able to win the Santa Anita Derby going wire to wire comfortably, and he's one that if he can get out there and control the pace, he could be a dangerous front-end threat in the Belmont Stakes. Finally, Rombauer. And Rombauer was your Preakness winner. Nice effort that day, coming from mid-pack. And he's been pretty good in his stakes races this year. He was third in the Bluegrass before the Preakness, and in that Bluegrass, the pace did not come back. The top two just kept going. Essential Quality won that one. And then Rombauer chased the pace from third, and he was just best of the rest that day. He just nobody was making any impact off the pace. Solid enough effort, and then he was able to move forward in the Preakness. And then prior to that, he earned an automatic berth into the Preakness when he won the mile and an eighth El Camino Real Derby on all-weather ground at Golden Gate Fields. So he's been in good form this year. He has stamina. He has enough positional speed to work out a decent trip. So I think the key to the Belmont Stakes, if you're looking to wager in the Belmont, some things to consider. I'm not going to make a final selection this early. We don't know the field or the final field or anything like that at this point. But horses or angles to look for when you're looking and handicapping a race like the Belmont. Pedigree. You want to look for horses. Stamina influences in their pedigrees. The more stamina influences, the better, because that mile-and-a-half trip has tripped up numerous horses over the years in that race. The second thing, a good angle is horses that ran in the Kentucky Derby, skipped the Preakness, and then ran in the Belmont. We've seen that happen multiple times and a lot of success with horses. Now, horses that fit that angle, Bourbonic, Brooklyn Strong, Essential Quality, Hot Rod Charlie, Known Agenda, Rock Your World. So those are the horses that ran in the Kentucky Derby, skipped the Preakness, and now they're running in the Belmont. So they're fresher, and that has been a good angle recently in the Belmont Stakes. So the final one, I would say, horses that show tactical speed. You want a horse that's not a big closer in a race like the Belmont. The pace is going to be slower, and you want to have a horse that has at least some positional speed that can stay in range. So if you can find a horse that has at least a positional speed with a strong route pedigree and horses exiting the Kentucky Derby. So I think maybe the most likely winner in the Belmont could come from that group of angles. But we'll have to see how it all plays out, obviously, as we get closer to the race. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. Who do you like at this early point in the Belmont Stakes? And I'll be back next week. I'll probably take another look at the Belmont Stakes if anything's changed with the field. And then Belmont Stakes week, I will do my Belmont video where I'll go through the field and give out my top choice. And that will be coming Belmont Stakes week. And if you're interested in my full card analysis for Belmont Stakes Day from Belmont Park, you can find that over at therunawayhorse.com on Belmont Stakes week. So that will wrap up this week's video. And this week's video is because I did two. I did my Preakness recap and then my Belmont Stakes preview. And then next week I'll be back with another video. Until then, good luck at the races.